Hello, everyone. It's Wednesday, September 10th, and that means it's time for another edition of Wednesday with Walton and Reis here at the CardinalNation.com in video form and in audio form at the Scoops Sports Network and all your favorite podcast apps. As you've noticed, Kyle was blousing his uniform in Jim Edmonds style. Welcome, Kyle.
Hello, Brian. Thank you for noticing. I hope that my physique is in form.
All right. So we got a lot to cover. The Class A seasons have ended, and there have been some interesting player movement. Of course, one of the pieces of news is Brendan Donovan's close. He's going to be rehabbing at Springfield, or he's already actually starting his rehab. And folks oftentimes don't understand about how these rehab assignments go. Simply put, Springfield's a lot closer to St. Louis right now because they're at home, and Memphis is in Jacksonville, Florida. So, you don't want to have a major league. Major leaguers don't have to do rehabs at all. Their contract says that they don't have to do minor. When they're ready, they could be activated. So the idea is make it as easy as possible for the player, and it's much easier for Brendan Donovan and as well Arenado as his cut is coming up to do their rehab at Springfield. If Springfield was down in Texas somewhere and Memphis was home, it would be vice versa. So it's not really any more complicated than that. Nick Rickey got his promotion to the majors, and I've seen the cynics. 29 years old, a guy got released a year ago at this time, got re-signed. I'm interested if you know anything about what he did over the winter to cause him to be re-signed. I didn't know, but had a very good year between Springfield and Memphis, and has the opportunity to realize his major league dream. I had somebody complain to me about the paperwork required, and isn't he going to take up a roster spot from somebody else this winter? And it's like, well, no, they'll take him off the roster if he's not worthy of staying there. But a guy realized his dream to reach the majors, and in first game he went 3 up and 3 down. Hooray for Nick, right?
Oh, Brian, this is, this season's pointless now, right? I mean, unless some magic happens, and I hate to be that way, and magic can happen. We've seen the Cardinals go on September run like none other.
Hey, every broadcast I hear how many games are out of the wild card. It's like 3.5 or what, or 4.5.
For sure, but even that team had Josh Kinney, John Brebbia. These are guys who go and play an indie ball, make a major league debut a little bit later. Everybody thinks that they're not very much of anything, and all of a sudden they're pitching important innings. I'm a Nick Rickey cynic. I'll come out and say it, but this is awesome. This is fun. This is the kind of thing that is actually an interesting story as the season unfolds, as the season ends. I mean, so
Yeah.
look, it doesn't matter. It really does not matter, and you can't look at that 40 man and tell me that there aren't other guys on the 40 man who don't deserve a spot on a major league 40 man. So I don't really care how they're filling it because, Brian, to your point, in a month, I mean, it's September 10th is the day that this will come out. In a month, none of these guys are going to be on the 40 man.
Yeah,
So
that's right. It's not like they're going to leave somebody unprotected that would get lost. That's not going to happen.
yeah. And in the
So
meantime, let's get behind this kid and get excited about a 29-year-old making his major league debut and get kind of excited about it because that could be the last time he ever pitches in a major league game. You just never know.
yeah, yeah. So another high-profile promotion, Liam Doyle, the left-hander, of course, taken by the Cardinals in the first round, fifth overall, was promoted to Springfield from Palm Beach. Now that was a big jump, but again, remember Peoria, the next stop, is not playing either. So they want to give Doyle some more competition, an opportunity to pitch at least once more in the major league in the regular season, at Double A, and then potentially also appear for Springfield in the playoffs. So this is an opportunity to get Doyle some more innings. You saw him in his first outing at Palm Beach. What did you think?
It was exactly as advertised. It didn't look like I would say that the kid that we saw pitching at Tennessee at the end of the 2025 collegiate season is exactly the kid that we saw pitching for Palm Beach in his organizational debut. The fastball is impressive. I think that we are starting to see that even as impressive as that fastball is, and it measures out quite impressively, as he makes it through the minor league ladder, it's not going to be enough without what is his changeup or splitter change. It's a split change. Statcast has issues with his pitch qualifications and quantifications, anyways. But without his slider making a step forward, and for me, a step forward with command more so than stuff. It's a decent pitch, probably going to be helpful against lefties more so than righties. But those, I would say that his fastball stands out as being exactly as advertised, as does the concerns with especially his slider. He let up a big home run to Alfredo Duno, who's one of the top prospects in all of baseball. Definitely probably the best hitting prospect that was still playing at low A at that point. And it was because he threw a slider in the middle of the plate, and you're not going to strike out. You're not going to fool the elite hitters, even at the lowest levels, with an average slider in the middle of the plate, even if it's in a hitter's count, if it's in an equal count, if it's in a pitcher's count. You're not going to get that by Alfredo Duno. And he did it, and he let up a monster home run, the second batter he faced after striking out the first batter he faced. And then he struggled with command of his fastball up in the zone, which is not uncommon for what I would imagine was a high adrenaline moment. So, again, I think one of the things to take away, one of the things I felt prey to, even though I knew better, is StatCast is still having trouble quantifying exactly what he throws. It said he threw a 97.7 mile an hour sinker. I knew it was a fastball. I didn't think about it. I was just typing what StatCast put, but it's that fastball is still it has the potential to be an elite major league level pitch. So he's on the Michael Wacha plan, Brian. He's pitching at Double A before he has his first full season in the major leagues. Let's hope that he can follow suit.
Now, just to bring down a little bit of the excitement, there's something you mentioned last week in the example of Ivan Herrera, who was 18 years old, coming off his rookie level season in the Gulf Coast League. He got a shot to play at Springfield late in the season. Same thing. The team's still playing, gives him opportunities. Doesn't mean that Ivan Herrera went to Springfield the next spring and jumped from Gulf Coast League. He didn't. He had his normal progression. And so folks shouldn't read in necessarily that Liam Doyle's at Springfield now, that he's going to be on Springfield on April 1st of 2026. He may not. If he has to spend some time in Class A, this is not a big deal.
No, Brian. I'm glad that you said that. That is an important piece of information here. Also, that it's while we're building on to the important perspective to present the listener with, is just remind everybody that whether he has success at Double A in whatever capacity he pitches for Double A, or struggles at Double A in whatever capacity he pitches at Double A, it does not matter. He's going to have a full off season to re-energize and reinvent. And there is a real chance that those pitches that we see now are completely different, whether it be from staying with slider and just changing how he grips it and how it moves, or introducing more pitches. So what we're seeing now does not really matter. It's something to get excited about, to watch. But this close to the end of the season, after a long collegiate season and an organizational debut, don't invest any time or effort into how it's going, because he's got his first professional offseason ahead of him, and spring training will tell us exactly what this young man is.
And speaking of the other young man from Tennessee that the Cardinals drafted, competitive balance round B, Tanner, not Ryan Franklin,
Yes.
had the opportunity to move up and make his he had one appearance at Palm Beach. He had the opportunity to, or no, a couple at Palm Beach. Had the opportunity to step up and pitch once for Peoria before that season ended. Any change in what you saw in Tanner Franklin, the Midwest League, versus what he did in Palm Beach?
No, not at all. And again, Brian, I'll take this one step forward. Is he in his last appearance for Peoria, he was pulled because of a little minor injury. No big deal. He's supposed to be back to pitching this week. And I know that there's only 9 days left before you get into the Double A playoffs, but if he's pitching and ready to go, I would say that he was just as impressive as you could ever hope that he is. And I wouldn't mind if they can make a spot for him on the Springfield playoff run,
And making space, pardon me for interrupting, but
Yeah.
making space is something, this new development list that has come out in the last year. It used to be before there was a phantom injured list. The guys would, have some injury that nobody knew anything about. They could take them off the roster so they could bring other people up. Now this development list, they move players off and on willy-nilly. Cade Winquist got put on the development list. He's been one of Springfield's best starters. Well, he's probably not going to pitch for a while. Maybe he's, I know he's way maxed out beyond. Last year only pitched like 24 innings, so he's over 100 this year. So maybe he's just going to get some rest. But the idea is you move a Cade Winquist off the development list and you bring up a Liam Doyle and you plop him in instead. They promoted Darlin Saladin, but then they put him on the development list right away. So it's sort of like, okay, Darlin, find your uniform, get your locker, be ready. We're going to activate you, at some point down the road. So I don't know if there's any rules about how often they can move guys off. I don't think there is. I don't think they're going to do it on a daily basis, but clearly this development list, Springfield has like 4 or 5 guys that are there but aren't active right now that probably will be at some point.
Oh, Brian, what a great point. I love the idea. Now I feel like I have to look into it and see if there are any rules with the development list. And then, like, when you present it that way, it does make me wonder. And another thing I'd like to get clarified a little bit is, if this is a reason, let's try to get as many of these guys around Springfield for the playoff run.
Absolutely,
I mean,
experience championship baseball.
what a great idea. What I'm anxious to see is as we record this on Tuesday night, Shenhui Len is pitching, and I'm anxious to see if he finds his way on the development list after tonight. Granted, he doesn't have the same innings issue that Cade Winquist has, but maybe it's just a way to get people up and down and see where they go. And I love that. I hope that's what they're doing. I really do. I hope that that's the motivation behind it, and I love it. And also, I hope that and we don't know about Cade, but I'm hopeful that Cade Winquist gets a chance to pitch for Springfield in the playoffs because that's a real arm.
Yeah, I hope so too. I don't think he's injured. I mean, I didn't hear anything about an injury, but it was a surprising thing when that he went on the development list because he last pitched last Tuesday. So today would have been, or Tuesday would have been his turn, or certainly by Wednesday. So, for some reason they're going to give him a little rest, it appears.
Yeah, yeah. So again, that's I guess the emphasis really here, as we talk about all of the pitchers and the transactions, is as Memphis season comes to an end, Springfield season comes to an end. Really, the excitement at the minor league level is fully on Springfield, and I guess JJ Weatherholt, who had missed a couple games at Double A, for which I understand is not a big deal, but all right, Triple A. I mean, JJ Weatherholt had missed a couple games at Triple A, but all of the excitement down at the minors is at Double A, and it is incredibly exciting what's going on there.
Another guy moved up. Mason Burns earned his second promotion of the year. 75 strikeouts in 55 innings. ERA under 3, a 14th rounder and I think he's tied for third in the system with 7 saves. Is Burns a guy that we should be keeping an eye on?
That slider of his is definitely a pitch worth keeping an eye on. Yeah, the fastball slider combo just might be a pitch worth keeping an eye on. It's not the slider is not. It's really good. It's probably 50, 60 grade ish. It's a really good pitch, and it is a carry pitch for him. It's just a matter of how the fastball kind of works around it. And since he goes slider heavy, since he uses the slider so well, it definitely is a name worth keeping an eye on. It's not the secondary offering turned to a primary offering of like Luis Gastelum with the changeup. It's not at that level. That pitch is a whole different beast, but he does have command of a couple of pitches that could take him to a major league debut somewhere down the line, which Brian, now again, I'm going to screw it up, but is Mason Burns a 16th rounder? He was he
14th.
14th. God,
Western Kentucky.
Yeah. So, I mean, what more could you ask for there? Then, again, I don't know if you want to get talking about it now, but this was a player that you had in consideration for your pitcher of the month for the organization.
He had Mason Burns at Peoria last month had a 0.68 ERA, lowest in the system. I mean, very impressive. 3 saves, tied for did everything they needed at Peoria, and just as good was Michael Watson, is now his teammate at Springfield, who had a 0.69 ERA, 16 strikeouts in 13 innings, also 3 saves. So, the difference, one of the differences, Peoria traditionally has done, or excuse me, Springfield has traditionally done well, but usually they mash their way to it, and they've always had bullpen problems. This year, the Springfield bullpen has been exceptional.
Yeah, from both the left-handed and the right-handed side, for the pitching staff at Springfield has really been the difference. And again, they had JJ Weatherholt carry them until he got promoted to AAA. Leonardo Bernal, except for a small little snippet there, has been a pretty consistent hitter. Chase Davis has been a roller coaster, but he's been hitting well lately. And Josh Baez just continues to hit and steal bases and run around and play well with infusions of guys like Zach Levinson.
Certainly didn't want to diminish the Springfield offense, but we've talked about their starting pitching and the left-handers up and down, and the relievers never get any attention. And when I did the pitchers of the month, 4 of the finalists are Springfield relievers now, if you count Burns. And so these are the top guys in terms of ERA in the system last month. Ricardo Velez, who doesn't get any attention, 26 year old, maybe not a prospect, but has been great all year long. Hunter Hayes, Tyler Brott. They've got some guys that have done the job for them.
Yeah, watching Tyler Brock got an abbreviated start earlier in the week. And that's, I mean, again, another really strong arm, a minor league arm to be able to use in multiple innings or short innings, depending on health and what other options you have. So again, I love what's going on there. I know Gastelum has had a couple of blow ups that have kind of hurt his season along the way, but yeah, look, it's just an exciting team. Exciting lefties, exciting righties. Like you said, from the starting rotation to the bullpen, and all guys who are capable of filling whatever role you really need them to fill. So, and again, bravo to the scouting department who has found a lot of these guys in the rounds 11 to 20 and turned them into double A, which does not happen in every organization. And so a lot of these guys will find their way to triple A and maybe even a major league debut.
There you go. There you go. Another Nick Riquet in the making. So when I was struggling with this, and I used to way back when have a starting pitcher of the month and a relief pitcher of the month. I may need to go back to that in 2026 because we had three relievers that had ERAs under 0.80, and then the best starter was at 1.6. Now, different role, more innings. But I'm struggling with, okay, I've got Burns and Watson and Ty Van Dyke, he's kind of in the middle. He's a starter, but he's only pitching, less than 3 innings per outing. But Nelfi Infante had an excellent month for Palm Beach, and he might have been the starter of the month. Quinn Mathews, 2.27 ERA, Mott's 2.32. But ultimately, I went with Michael Watson as my pitcher of the month. I don't expect when the Cardinals do announce theirs that they'll pick a reliever, but I just felt that these relievers had done so well, comparably better. And when you look at strikeout to walk ratio again, Watson was on top. So that's why I went where I did. But you can go to the website and mash through the stats yourselves and see if you agree with where I came out or not. But Watson and Van Dyke both a solid 4.0 strikeout to walk ratio last month.
Brian, let me ask you, did you when you decided to change to go to the starting I guess group all of the pitchers into one group, was that because the organization had been so thin that it was like, all right, now it's just easier to do it? Or were you just like, what was your reasoning behind it?
I wasn't sure that anybody cared
Uh-huh.
or that enough people cared. And, it takes time to do it, put it together. And nobody really complained about it one way or the other. But I always felt like the relievers got a short shift, if without that. So I'll go back and spend the extra time next year probably and do it. And that way I'm not stuck in this debate of how to compare, two different pitchers in completely different roles and try to look at the numbers and make them work.
Okay. That makes sense to me. I wondered because it seemed like for a while, there might be one or two relief pitchers that were worth paying attention to or that were pitching well, and then everyone else was getting rocked. And I wondered if maybe it was just like out of necessity more than anything.
No, not really. No, it wasn't that. It was more, and I'm being honest, just to save time.
Yeah, cool. I love it.
So another promotion that happened a few days back in time for the final weekend of the year, the final 4 games, Rainiel Rodriguez, who we've talked about almost every week here at the podcast, had the opportunity to move up again. A nice promotion again, 18 years old at Peoria. He really did everything they asked of him this year, right?
Oh, yeah, above and beyond, Brian. Like I said last week, I would have loved to have seen him get a quick little taste of Springfield here. I guess I want everybody to go to Springfield. If the entire Peoria and Palm Beach roster could find their way to Springfield, I don't know what the hotel situation is currently. I would imagine with the students back in, but maybe they can live on campus. See, there's student housing there for them, but
No, they'll just make 3 to a room instead of 2 or something. They'll figure it out. They'll figure it out.
No, they'll start consolidating. But yeah, look, I love the fact that he did get the Peoria promotion to end the season, spend a weekend in Peoria. Just a tremendous season. I would imagine that we'll see how it goes. We're getting way ahead of ourselves, but when you look back and you start doing your list of who was the organization hitter of the year, it's going to be hard to choose between two guys in Weatherholt and Rainiel Rodriguez in a year when a lot of other hitters were really impressive. So
Yeah, I mean Nathan Church had a tremendous year. I mean we're seeing him at the major league level. So yeah,
yeah,
that'll be a fun call to make, and no matter who I pick, it won't be wrong.
that's right, Brian. Everyone knows that you're the one who gets it right.
Well, again, there's no right or wrong in any of
Yeah.
this. And folks, this is a time-worn speech, but there is no right and wrong ranking of prospects. It's all subjective. So, don't get hung up on that.
Yeah, and you don't have to look any further than every list you can get your hands on for free to
There you
see
go.
that.
There you go. So, I mentioned Quinn Mathews had a really nice 2.27 ERA in 6 starts. Got back up over 5 inning average between 5 and 6 innings a start. But there's an alarming trend reemerging. His last 3 starts, 3 walks, 4 walks, 4 walks. Is there a problem here?
Yes, when you're walking that many people, there is undoubtedly a problem. And Brian, I'm sure that somebody has done the job of crunching the numbers to find out exactly why it's happening. Probably somebody out there who's looking at advanced tracking data and says that he bends his knee a little bit too much before he starts his wind up or something like that. Just like a lot of armchair coaches are talking about, like Jordan Walker's stance, even though the stance doesn't matter. Anyways, that's all just to say that I think walking is an issue. I don't know if it's because of the fastball, of the changeup, of the slider, of the curve, if it's one thing or the other. When I watch it, it just doesn't seem like he's commanding the ball particularly well, and that he's doing that, just missing on the black, and not getting away with it at the AAA level, just like he did at the end of last year, and we've seen him struggle with throughout the season. It's just a matter.
He gave up more walks than hits over his last three starts. I mean, it's not like they're pounding the ball against him. That's not the case. But all those walks, he ended up giving up like 5 earned runs in 5 innings last time out.
Yeah, and I think it was 3 starts ago. He got the hits that he allowed were nickel and dime hits. They were just little dump, nothing hard, and that's good. That's encouraging.
Yeah.
But to me, without like really getting into it, it just says that if if he's not going up against an aggressive lineup that's going to chase after his slider and his changeup, especially that changeup, the righties against that changeup on the outside, if they're not an aggressive lineup chasing that stuff, then he's probably going to struggle with walks. At least without having command of the corners. So that, yeah, I think it's just that simple. I don't think that this is the kind of thing you need to overthink or overanalyze or dig that hard into the data. I think that's exactly what we're seeing.
So let's talk about what everybody wants to know about, and that is the rotation for next year in St. Louis, right?
Oh,
You got
do we
Gray, you
have
got
to, Brian?
Liberatore, you got McGreevy, probably. You may have Palante because there's nobody else. I mean, if Kyle Leahy tries, that's great, but if you expect him to head the rotation, you're asking for too much. So, the Matthews is the guy that I thought was going to be I think I said this before, on the McGreevy time frame this year. I thought, make a 6, 8, 10, 12 starts at AAA and be with St. Louis. And now he's at a situation where he's still trying to kind of reinvent himself and figure it out. Can we count on Mathews next year in St. Louis?
The good news is, Brian, is that you don't really have to count on anything next year for the Cardinals. It would appear. They're putting themselves in a position where you don't necessarily like counting implies a certain amount of competitiveness in my book, and I don't necessarily think that they're in that. But no, I would not. I'll be honest with you, Brian, and I don't know how the 40 man's going to shake out this offseason, but and this is no disrespect to Quinn Mathews. I don't mean it that way. But if you're going to go into the year and really your only two guarantees, if healthy, are Liberatore and McGreevy, maybe Gray if he decides to not waive his no trade clause, maybe Palante, although like you said, almost certainly Palante will be part of it just because who, if not him, then who? Uh, and then Kyle Leahy, whatever you're talking about, then that spot should be open to the 40 other guys that they're going to have to protect from the Rule 5 draft on their 40 man, including Quinn Mathews, who they will not have to protect, but he should be a part of it. Like Gordon
Well, I mean,
Versepo.
so the point is, you wouldn't put him on the 40 man now. You let him come to camp, and if he pitches his way on the team, great. It's
Yeah.
just, I think there are folks not unlike Weatherholt who are impatient that Matthews isn't with St. Louis. And as you talked about, he's got some more things to work on. And, if he's walking a batter per inning in the major leagues, he's not going to cut it.
Yeah, I do think, like I said, I've said it over and over. I would have loved to have seen him get some relief innings at the major league level, just to work on it, to figure it out, work on it with the big league team. And you're right, that does not mean that he deserves it or that he should have it. It's just something that I would like to see, again, because of the train wreck curiosity in part, but also because I'd love to see it. I do think that the issue, like if I'm taking the fans' perspective that separates Weatherholt and Matthews, is that if they both had to be protected, they would be up here at the major league level.
Right,
And that's
Just like Jimmy Crooks is now.
yeah, exactly. And that's the frustrating thing because it's not necessarily about performance with the both of them. With Matthews, it definitely is as compared to Weatherholt. No doubt about that. It's just about the timing of it all more
Their
than anything.
time will come. Their time will come.
You're right. You're right.
So let's talk a little bit about records. Again, this is, the minor leagues are about player development. They're about narrowing the pyramid and getting the handful to the major leagues who are going to be contributors. But playing winning baseball is important, as we talked about with Springfield. Franchise record in wins, 84 and counting. They've never won more than 80 before. Had an 11-game winning streak that I think was broken on Sunday. Franchise record again. Playing tremendous ball. But you drop down a level, Peoria, very, very different. Peoria finished the second half 15 games under 500. They're about close to 30 games under for the year. Um, they were last in the Midwest League in ERA, second most walks, the Peoria staff. Runs scored, they were in the middle of the pack. And that was surprising because you think about the guys who at least finished the season there. I mean, Winquist was there for a while, Davis, Savacool. I mean, they had some good pitching, but yet Peoria as a team struggled on the mound more than offensively.
I feel like that's been a recurring theme too at Peoria. It's almost like back, the Texas League was always the hitter's park, but I feel like the last couple of years, a lot of the pitchers will struggle at high A and then get to double A and actually pitch better than they did at high A. And, I'm sure that might have to do with coaching. It might have to do with executing a plan or where you're getting the best chance to develop players. I'm not sure. But it does just feel like over the years, some of the best talent that progresses struggles the most at high A. That I know that Peoria hitting environment and oddly enough, pitching environment with the weather and the stadiums and the dimensions can be very inconsistent, very hard to get a gauge on if you're just looking at production. So, but yeah, look, it's funny. I think in a lot of ways, whatever's going on at that level, the high A level, is like the easiest or best way to evaluate your talent and the health of your organization, whether not only from like a high end standpoint or majorly contributing standpoint or high end prospect standpoint, but just like if you have a positive, healthy win loss record at high A, then you know that your organization as a whole is kind of melding and progressing in a positive way for the very reasons that you kind of frame the question.
One level down, Palm Beach, a couple championships have, played very, very well in recent years. This year, not so much. Right around 500, slightly under 500, kind of like the major league team for the year. Finished 12 games out, but they were in the playoff race in the second half till last week because the St. Lucie Mets were so dominant. They won both halves of the season, much like Springfield's probably going to do. And in that scenario, then the second place team in the second half gets the playoff spot. And Palm Beach ended up third, but they were playing the second place team in their last series, so they still had a chance. Um, Again, runs scored, middle of the pack. Palm Beach offense, playing obviously in a big major league spring training stadium, but uncharacteristically, Palm Beach was eighth out of 12 Florida State League teams in ERA, 4.5. Why? Why is it the international pipeline didn't come through? Didn't they pitch enough of the guys from the draft this year? What?
Well, I think a lot of those international guys were learning on the fly. One of the guys you bring up, Nelfi Infante, I feel like was a better pitcher by the end of the season than he was at the beginning of the season. I think in a lot of ways, like Braden Davis was not the pitcher in April that he was in June. I think a lot of the development happened at that level, and usually when a pitcher would start pitching really well at low A, they'd get the promotion relatively quickly, and then the
And
next guy
that's
would
not a
go.
bad thing, but of
Yeah,
course, you don't have the continuity. I mean, managing at Palm Beach is probably at that level is one of the most difficult jobs because of the player movement, because of the influx of position players for the draft. I mean, it's a tough place to manage and do consistently well. I'm not down on anybody for what happened at Palm Beach because they were competitive, as I said.
yeah. Oh, absolutely, Brian. And Mr. Kendall deserves all the credit in the world again for the second straight year about for being as good of a manager he is at managing. Like you said, it's also probably the biggest melting pot. You've got people coming in from all over the place. You're probably keeping an eye on what's going on in the backfields during the season. It's just so much goes on at that level now, especially now that we don't have short season teams and clubs anymore. So yeah, I would say that by and large, the progression that happened at Palm Beach, regardless of win loss record, to tie in to your point, Brian, to start this, win loss record only means so much. We're talking about development, but I would say that it was an incredibly positive year at Palm Beach for the Cardinals.
Yep, yep. So as I said, we'll be watching Springfield as they finish their season and go into the playoffs. Of course, Memphis will keep on playing because of the fact that the AAA schedule more or less parallels the major league schedule, and so that's where the ready reserves are in the final month when there are injuries in St. Louis. I got to ask you one question, Kyle. I can see your face gets bright as your screen gets bright. Are you multitasking watching the Springfield game while we're taping this? Tell the truth.
Brian, I'm watching the Springfield game as we tape this.
I had a feeling.
Yeah, so Chen Wei Lin ended up loading the bases. They brought in a relief pitcher who got them out of it. Trey Page, I think, just took a walk. Brian, I'm going to be honest with you. I have the inability to only focus on one thing, and if I focus on one thing, I fall asleep, as my girlfriend will comment on. But
And I'm a one ball juggler, so I couldn't do that.
yeah, at one point I was trying to get the dog to come up on my lap while this was
Yeah,
going
yeah,
on.
yeah. We got to get. I mean, you got to have puppies and kids, and
Yeah,
that'll help our ratings, whatever that
yeah,
means.
yeah. So let's hope. Well, trust me, that dog of ours, she deserves because she's such a cute jerk. Really, she deserves all of the ratings.
There you go. There you go. Well, I think we're going to call it an episode for the September 10th edition of Wednesday with Walton and Reis, and we will be back on the 17th. That's next time around, and I'm sure we'll have lots of news and uh, pleasant things to talk about. Hopefully, lots of positives that are going on in the St. Louis Cardinal system. Kyle, any closing words?
No, let's finish the season out strong. And Brian, I can't wait to talk to you next week.
All right, we can't wait to get back to you and deliver another episode of Wednesday with Walton and Reis. Thanks everybody for watching and listening.